The lesson which we are going to discuss now is on contents of an effective case record. This lesson focuses on the essential contents of the different types of records in social casework. It attempts to make the learners understand the different types of records, their purpose, and the essential elements of each of these types of records. This lesson also includes the topic on the methods of collecting information in social casework. Some of the objectives which has been laid down for this lesson are: understand the various types of recording in social casework, equip oneself with the essential components of each of the types of records, familiarize oneself with the methods of collecting information in social casework. Fourth one, know some of the other information to be included in recording. Now let's see what do we mean by a casework record. A record literally means a formal writing of any fact or proceeding. In social casework practice, recording is understood as a process of writing down relevant information and facts in a systematic manner about our client and of the helping process. Casework record is a written account of the casework proceedings. However, casework recording is not an easy and simple task. Rather, it is a highly skilled and complex task. It takes a substantial amount of the practitioner's time. Recording is an important and integral part of the casework process and is an output of the activity of the casework. The importance of recording lies both in the process as well as the product. For a caseworker, the art of record writing is worth striving to develop and perfect, not because casework recording is an essential part of good casework, but also because the casework record is one of the important indexes of the efficiency and effectiveness of the caseworker. Recording is done regularly as the case moves. Recording is a key aspect of professional activity and accountability. It is central to the good social work practice. Good records are an essential tool for practitioners to reflect on their ongoing work with people and plan future work. Good case records should provide a comprehensive, accurate, and justifiable account of all that we plan or treatments provided. Now let's look at the contents of casework records. Records are flexible and there is no fixed rule about the way or manner in which a report has to be written. However, any record should have adequate substantive contents. Each case worker has to develop a style that is sufficient to support the casework process. The contents of what needs to be included in any casework record will depend on the type of recording. In the practice of casework, there are different types of records, and each type of record focuses on including some specific contents and the style of writing the record. Let us look at these different types of records and understand their basic contents and style of writing. The first type of recording is process recording. It is also known as narrative recording. It is a highly detailed form of recording. In this type of record, everything that takes place in an interview is being recorded. The caseworker records all that has been heard and observed during the interview. In this type of recording, the words and the expressions of the clients are recorded directly. It involves recording of direct codes of what has been said by the client and also the responses of the case worker. Say for example, the worker says, "How are you?" The client replies, "I'm fine." Then the worker continues saying, "You look very good in this dress." Then the client responds, "Thank you. It's a new dress brought by my mother with smiles. So thus it can be said that process recording ends up being the only practical method that even comes close to direct observation of what takes place during interviews. Process recording is an effective way of helping students or trainees learn interviewing skills. Process recording is often used to help supervisors determine how their students are functioning and to identify areas where effective techniques are being utilized, as well as areas where guidance is needed. Process recording can also be used as an evaluative tool for staff. It enables to get an idea about the abilities of the staff. Process recording provides added security for both the agency and the new worker or student. If the worker process records in appropriate detail exactly what has taken place during interviews, the agency is kept informed of his activities. This makes it relatively easy for the supervisor to give appropriate guidance and prevent serious mishandling of cases. The key components of a process recording are: first, identifying information, that is, the name of the worker, the date of the interview, and the client's name. It may be helpful to state the number of the interviews, such as second session, third session, etc. Secondly, a word-to-word description of what happened. Third, a description of any action or non-verbal activity that occurred. The next point is that the feelings and reactions of the caseworker also has to be recorded. The caseworker need to put into writing his or her unspoken thoughts and reactions as the interview goes on. Next point, the caseworker's observations and analytical thoughts regarding what has been happening during the interview should be highlighted. At the end of the process recording, the caseworker need to give a diagnostic summary. It is a summarization of the analytical thoughts of the caseworker about the entire interview which he or she has just recorded. After this, the record should be followed by the treatment plan or the future plan, indicating the workers and the client's goals for treatment or for the next session to come. Now moving to the second type of recording is the summary recording. This form of recording is preferred for daily social work practice. It is specially important for organizing and analyzing facts. It points to the meaning and the relative importance of the materials gathered. A careful summary made at appropriate intervals reduces any bulk writing, clarifies direction and saves the worker's time. Summative recording is a summary of all the formative assessment carried out over a long period and makes statements about the client's progress. It is commonly assumed to be a review of materials that has already appeared in the record. It may be topically arranged or may appear as condensed chronological narrative. A summary can be an assessment, a periodic summary, or closing summary. The periodic summary is simply the summary of information previously recorded and is more or less regular intervals or at the end of every recording of the interview. The closing summary is a summary made at the time of closure of the casework process or at the time the process of casework is terminated. However, certain kinds of information which should be always included in a summary recording are: first one, the full name of the client; second, any identifying number for the client, such as patient number in case of hospitals; third, the date of the interview; fourth, the date on which the recording was written; next, the name of the worker; Next, the purpose of the interview. Then next is the contents of the interview. This includes the description of what happened during the interview. Then the next one is a description of any problem areas identified by the social worker or by the client. Then the next is a description of any services provided by the social worker. Then the next is the practitioner's professional analytical assessment of the meaning of what has occurred during the interview, usually under a heading such as diagnostic summary. Then the next is plans, that is the goals for treatment for future contact or follow-up. These are often described under the heading treatment plan or goals. Subsequent entries then indicate the outcome of these goals or any problems encountered in achieving them. Then the third type of recording is diagnostic summary. Diagnostic summaries record the analysis, diagnosis and assessment of the problem of the client. It needs the worker to organize his thinking and give in-depth thought to a case situation. Diagnostic summaries are written to help the worker develop appropriate treatment planning and be able to provide better services. The diagnostic summary provides an opportunity for the worker to set down his professional impressions, reactions, and concerns about the client. Putting into writing these ideas can be helpful to other staff who work with that individual at a later date. There are also times when it may be therapeutic to share diagnostic assessments with the client. It is not necessary to write a diagnostic summary or treatment plan whenever the worker makes a recorded entry. On the other hand, there are times when it is essential that this be included, such as when a case is opened, reopened, transferred or closed. Diagnostic summaries are also needed when a significant change occurs in the client's situation and or the worker's or client's perceptions of needs and problems. A good diagnostic summary analyzes why things are the way they are and focuses on feelings and attitudes of the client, significant others in his life, and the views of the case worker regarding the case situation. Such a summary should include, first of all, problems and needs as seen by the client. So what does the client thinks are his main needs and problems? No matter how unrealistic or incomplete they may sound to the case worker, the needs as seen by the client must be recorded. If the client states that he has no needs or problem areas, this should also be recorded. Secondly, problems and needs as seen by the worker. So what the worker thinks about the client's problems and needs, this will not always be the same as what the client says they are. The worker needs to point out any difference between his feelings and those of the client and indicate what he feels are the client's real needs. This is where the case worker's understanding of the psychodynamics of human behavior is crucial to achieve in-depth analysis of meanings hidden behind the client's statements and non-verbal actions. Thirdly, client's feelings about his situation. The case worker uses various adjectives to describe the client's needs and his situations. Is the client depressed, apathetic, striving or confused? Does he say one thing but the case worker knows that he really feels differently? If so, why? If the case worker is not able to determine the feeling and attitudes of the client about his situation, it is perfectly fine for the case worker to say, "I don't know," as a part of diagnostic summary. The fact that we cannot pinpoint what is happening is often as important to record as would be a specific explanation or analysis of a situation. Next, appropriateness of the client's feelings and behavior. Are they appropriate or inappropriate in view of the crisis or situation the client is facing? Are the feelings exaggerated or unexpectedly absent? For example, it would be appropriate and normal for a man to cry when he grieves over the loss of his wife. Next point, efforts made by the client to solve his problem. Has the client done anything to try to resolve the problems or needs he has presented to the worker? What the worker thinks about these efforts, are they realistic or unrealistic? Have they been effective? What else might he do to solve or alleviate his problem? Now, the next type of recording is the problem oriented recording, also known as POR, POMR or SOAP. It is a specialized effort that was developed for use in interdisciplinary medical setting. Several different names and abbreviations have been used to refer to the same basic approach of recording. POR, that is problem oriented recording. We have POMR, which is problem oriented medical record, and the more common one is SOAP, which is subjective data objective data assessment plan. In simple language, this system requires the caseworker to record the identified problem areas, assess them, and then state what he or she plans to do about each problem. This type of recording is useful in interdisciplinary settings because many different disciplines may be working on the same problem. The ideal use of POR is for all disciplines to record on the same form in the same interdisciplinary record. This trend began in the late 1960s and early 1970s, and most medical social work departments in the hospitals still follow this form of recording. Under the SOAP approach, some problem areas are identified in the initial contact with the client. Additional problem areas may surface in subsequent contacts and be recorded in daily, weekly, or regular progress note entries. Once a problem has been identified and assessed and a treatment plan outlined, subsequent record entries must refer back to that problem area and comment on the progress in achieving the plans outlined in earlier entries. Transfer or closing summaries would list each problem area individually and summarize the nature of the problem, assess it, and comment the progress, hindrances, and results in achieving the treatment plan that was developed. Under this form of recording, the caseworker will make a heading of problem, and for each problem identified, the caseworker will list 4 elements of SOAP recording. First is S, that is the subjective data. The writer would write S and then describe the subjective data. So, the subjective data here refers to the client's statement of the problem as she sees it. The viewpoints of significant others may also be included. The thoughts and feelings of the clients about his situation is also being included. Then the second one is O, that is the objective data. This section will require the caseworker to record the factual data and observations. The client's behavior or personal appearance are described but not analyzed. If the client has undergone testing for medical or psychiatric diagnosis, the results of this test are included as factual information. Details concerning the client's living arrangements, financial situation, and so on can also be included if they are relevant to the particular problem area being discussed. The next one is A, which is assessment. This includes the caseworker's analysis of the factual information recorded and the client's perception of the problem that she has written down. Then last one is P, which is plan. Based on the gathering of facts, awareness of the client's feelings and assessment, the worker states what she plans to do to work on the problem that has been identified. This is basically the treatment plan. Now let's look at the different methods of collecting information. The caseworker can make use of the intake sheet, genogram and echo map to collect the necessary information about the client. Let's first look at the intake sheet. Intake sheet indicates important areas or items about which information has to be collected by the caseworker. It is referred to as phase sheet. It is generally filled in at the initial phase of the casework process. It gives a direction to the casework interview as to what information need to be collected and what should be the focus of the interview. Most of the social work agencies have a more or less standardized pro forma which has blanks for entries to be made by the worker related to the identification data such as name, demographic data, family background, reasons for referral and other such information. Intake sheet is to give in a convenient form the objective social facts or situation of the client of a permanent character to particularize the case. The second one is genogram. A family genogram is a graphic representation of one's family tree of at least 3 generations. It gives a pictorial representation of the members along with a chronological statement of significant events. It consists of information about the family members, relationship patterns and dynamics, and also significant events. It helps in assessing a person's psychosocial characteristics or the interactional patterns of the family. The third one is echo map. Though family experiences are significant, people are also greatly affected by the social context in which they live. Our record will not be complete if we do not depict this social context. An echo map is an extremely useful tool for portraying the social context because it provides a diagrammatic representation of a person and social world and energy depleting relationships between members of a primary social system such as family or household and the outside world. The graphic nature of the echo map highlights social strengths and social deficiencies and helps to identify areas of conflict. It lets us know where the changes are needed. The echo map is a natural adjunct to the genogram. Then going further, some other important elements of recording. So as we have discussed earlier, recording can be of several types in the process of social casework depending on the intent behind the recording and its purpose, and each type of record has specific contents or elements to be included. However, there are some other essential items to be included in the records. So the first one is any written and signed consent to all the interventions. Second one is any written and signed contents to all passing of confidential information. Third is all appointments including non-attendance by the individual, that is a client. Then the fourth is intervention contracts. Fifth, up-to-date record of the case worker's reasoning behind decisions about significant interventions and general strategies. Sixth, consultations with anyone else about the individual. Seventh, copies of any correspondence from the individual or relating to work with the individual. Eighth, any instructions given to the individual and whether or not the individual acted on these. Finally, we have arrived at the summary of this lesson. Casework records are essential for the effective and efficient practice of social casework. Records are flexible and there is no fixed rule about the way or manner in which a report has to be written. The contents of what needs to be included in any casework record will depend on the type of recording. In the practice of casework, there are different types of records and each type of record focuses on including some specific contents and the style of writing the record.